I've been so very reluctant to open up my calendars for more readings, because how do you deal with the paradox of being so incredibly powerful and good at your work, but living with compacted trauma and unprocessed pain and grief, and being triggered by other people's issues and situations? Um, every time I go to spirit on somebody else's behalf, they come back with a little something for my ass too. So I'm gonna just dive into it, take my rest as I need to. Cancer season is whomping on my head. I'm a Cancer moon and a Cancer rising, and I have all this nurturing mothering energy in me, which is why I'm so good at what I do. But this season has brought up the unhealed and the unresolved issues of my infertility struggles. I'm assisting a few people right now with death and life, and bringing new life into the world, and grieving life, and myself realizing that I have so much grief inside of me for the babies I never got to meet. And I spent years and years with a much older man, and we struggled for a long time to get pregnant. I had a lot of failed fertility treatment attempts, a lot of struggles with lack of support from my partner, and I realized that that trauma is still in my body, in my womb space. Because while I was struggling and suffering, just relentlessly refusing to give up on being able to be a mother and have a child, my partner was out having babies with other women. I came home one day and there were 3 DNA tests laying on our dining room table. He said he was the father of children to 3 separate women, all different age ranges throughout the 10-year span of our relationship. And at the time, I was not in a safe space to be able to process that anger and that grief. I had to just keep moving and keep pushing and push through it. And I did not get to give myself the time that I needed to process those things. So that's what I mean by triggers coming up when I'm doing things and readings for other people, and it'll be about their infertility struggle. It will remind me of these things that, like, I just completely forgot about. I just completely put it behind me and became another person. But it still physically exists. The grief still exists in my body, even if I was able to forget it in my mind and in my spirit and forgive it and move on. The body has kept score for the souls that were supposed to come through my womb space, and that energy still just kind of being stuck there and causing me to have incredibly painful menstrual cycles. And all the cleansings that I do are from my spirit, from my aura, from my energy, from my womb, but never speaking to that space. I never speak to that specific space. I don't speak to her. I'm disconnected for so long from my feminine energy. I was living and reside and ride or die in my hypermasculine because I felt broken as a woman. I felt inadequate as a woman. I felt useless as a woman. I felt that my womb space was just a fucking slip and slide playground, and everybody just use and abuse it and do what you want to, because, I mean, shit, you can't get pregnant anyway. It don't matter, right? How do you deal with that? What do you do with that? My self-love, my self-healing journey The love baths, they have helped to calm and soothe and bring me back aligned with my feminine energy and help me to connect with my body and listen to her more and help her to heal. But it is a journey, baby. It is a process. It takes time. Because that was years and years and years of mistreatment and ignoring her and hating her for not functioning in the way that I wanted her to, when really Divine Spirit was saving me from having a legacy with a awful person. If I would have had children with that man, I would be miserable. And so would my children. And those souls knew that they had a destiny, that they had a legacy, that I am too good for that. God loves me more than that and wants better for me and would not allow that for my life. So with the bitter, I have to take the sweet victory of I'm here living my dream life at perfect peace without being attached and tied to someone who was draining my life force energy and going out of their way to intentionally hurt me and harm me and embarrass me. With the grief, I'm also grateful for the opportunity to be free, to now have the safe space and the freedom to grieve, but to also be grateful that I ain't some fuck nigga's baby mama. Laughing about my trauma is a love language that I share with myself. Being able to laugh at my darkest days and remembering when I was sitting on the toilet bleeding to death and crying and screaming and cramping and just, I remember writing in my little journal, one day you're going to be able to laugh about this. I remember that was something I would always write to myself. Today you feel like you want to die, but I promise you one day you're going to be able to laugh at this. You ain't no fuck nigga's baby mama. It feels so good. It feels so good to say that. It feels so good to know I was saved from a life of misery. It feels so good to say, to know, to feel, to be in a healed space. I'm not being a fuck nigga's baby mama.